Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at Beyond Mystic, and welcome to today's edition of Beyond the Vault. With me, of course, is Andy Sheckman. You can find his work at milesfranklin.com. Andy, welcome back to the show.
How are you? My brother, good to see you, my man. Thanks for
having me. How's the weather in Florida?
You
guys are having some weird issues. Where are you?
You know, I'm lucky. I live in Delray Beach. I'm on the East Coast. I'm probably the only guy from Minnesota in the entire East Coast. They all seem to be over on the West Coast. In the area that's been beaten up on every hurricane since we've been here. And I've been here for going on 4 years, and there's been 3 or 4, and every one of them has hit over there, including this one. But the band is so large that it covers the entire state, and we're on the outer perimeter of it. I'm looking out my window right now, and I mean, it hasn't really rained much, but it's windy enough to, kind of freak you out when you look at the big palm trees, kind of like,
right.
But we're okay, thankfully. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting night for the people over on the West Coast, up near the Panhandle, especially.
Well, my buddy Joe's in Tampa, yeah, so he's
that's where it is.
Yep. To the
that's where it is.
Yeah, of it all. Well, we hope that you're okay for the transmission here
Thank
today.
If, we'll find out if I disappear. That you'll know why.
We'll know why. Somebody says, hey, we loved your interview with G. Edward Griffin. How was that, Andy?
Well, I'm going to have you on one of these days too. I did basically my first interview, and he let me grab the book. So for people who don't know, this book here shaped my way of thinking a long time. I mean,
The Creature of Jekyll Island.
Yeah, he wrote it. He's 94 years old. The dude looks like he's 74. Oops, sorry.
Wow.
He's really fascinating guy. I give you a lot of respect, Jean-Claude, a lot of respect, because the prep work and the ability to make something flow and go. I mean, people don't understand how hard it is to do what you do and make it look really stupid easy. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, especially when you have to prepare and not sound like a buffoon. So thank you very much for the nice comment, Jake. I love you, bro. For the night. In fact, Jake, I'd like to have you on my show too. Let me know if you're interested in that. I'm going to be doing a live stream every other week and a interview every other week, and maybe even more than that. But I've got some really good guests lined up, really good, and I'd like to have you on the docket, Jean-Claude, and see how you fare on the other side of the microphone.
I'm going to be in the hot seat. Oh no.
Yes.
That'd be fun. Hey, Andy, for the people who want to follow you in your interviews, where do they go right now to get the links to these? You post them on your Twitter?
Yeah, we're posting them, and this is all so new to me, man. And but it's called Little by Little. Shockingly enough, remember the Little by Little.
Yeah,
it's called Little by Little with Andy Sheckman, and we're going on episode number 3 that will be next Wednesday.
Really cool. But I'm looking for the YouTube channel. Is it called that?
It should be Miles Franklin YouTube channel.
Okay. Hold on. So not that one. So the show is called
Little by Little. Yep. The reason we left it on Miles Franklin, a long time ago, I used to do podcasts. And then one of the guys that ran my podcast became a broker, Dunnigan Kaiser, and his son.
Right.
And so we let it go kind of quiet, but there's still 23,000 people or so on the channel. So we figured
good audience. Yeah, for sure.
Start right there. There it is.
Let's bring that link
right there.
Let me bring that link down.
You're a prince, man. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that, brother.
So, guys, if you want to go subscribe here to Miles Franklin on YouTube, the link is in the live chat now.
I love you, JC. Thank you very much for doing that. And the thing of it is that someone said to me, "Well, aren't you concerned that all the channels you go on make?" I mean, going on your channel and going on others is everything to me, and I enjoy it a lot more than doing my own show. But I figured I might as well do both. I watch on everyone else's show, so I figured, hey, let's do mine too. But that doesn't mean I don't want to keep coming back every week on your show. It means a lot to me, and I love it.
The more the merrier.
A little bit of
more
both.
The merrier. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to get the information out whatever way we can. So, folks, I encourage you to go check out Miles Franklin on YouTube and check that last interview there, of course, with G. Edward Griffin.
Thank you, brother.
I'm going to schedule that one too. I want to go watch that one after the show. Andy, a couple of things we want to talk about here today. When we left off last week, we're looking at some perturbations here for the month of October. Trump's making all these weird announcements. He's speaking in code the other day about a golden era of sorts where we would need to dig the wealth below our feet. He's talking about trillions of dollars. People are suggesting that he was talking about gold. Some other people were saying, oh, no, he's talking about oil, GC. He keeps saying dig, baby, dig. And I said, in the context of that particular one, it appears he was talking about some type of gold-backed standard. And what was interesting, he said, sooner rather than later. So
I believe that, JC. Yeah. Judy Shelton would be his nominee for the head of the Federal Reserve. Judy Shelton is a gold standard advocate. Judy Shelton came out and said the only way you get people to take our 10-year treasuries or our 30-year treasuries in particular, because at this point you have to be really idiotic to take a 30-year treasury, even a 10-year treasury at under 5% from a government that is bankrupt in essence. She said the only way you get people to do that is to have it redeemable in gold. And so wouldn't surprise me one bit at all. And then again, of course, remember we go back to the Bitcoin meeting in Tennessee where he spoke about having this strategic stockpile, and Senator Loomis came up directly after and said, yes, and in order to do that, we should revalue the gold held on behalf of the Treasury at the Federal Reserve. Let's revalue that and use proceeds to pay for part of the proceeds to pay for the strategic Bitcoin reserve account. Look, the bottom line is this. I've been doing this for 35 years almost, and I will tell you, when you do something long enough, you can feel it without even being able to articulate it. You do anything long enough. It's like, your passion is cars, I know. And in driving a car, you can feel something isn't right with the car, even though you can't quite, it's got a little bit of a vibration. Something's not right. Something doesn't feel right. You know it. And even if you can't articulate what it is, you pull into the service shop. Hey guys, there's something not right with this. It's got a little vibration when I turn to the left, or whatever it may be. The same thing is true here. I mean, when I look at the gold market, something is very different. There is no question about it. The strength that we see is different. And I attribute it to the fact that the big money around the globe understands what we've been doing for a long time. They're on to the game. And they figure this doesn't have to be a war of missiles and bombs against a nuclear power as dominant as the United States, but we can win just by simply beating them at their own game. And that is to continue to stand for delivery with gold and silver and all of the world's commodities as the West continues to play this charade of suppressing the market in order to maintain an illusion of dollar dominance and bond supremacy, which is fading. And it's a game that I've never seen such strength. They try and hit it. In years past, JC, they'd hit it and it would go, and then they would step on its damn neck and it wouldn't come back for a long time. And now every single day, it's higher, it's higher, it's higher. And the only way you can successfully manipulate a market over time is to push it in the direction that it is going. And this is a lesson that the naked shorts are going to figure out, I think, in a painful manner. So yeah, this is different. I've never seen it like this.
Well, I want to play that clip from Trump just so we can hear the words again and try to read between the lines, so to speak. And then I want to get into some of the interventions in China also. I saw an article on Zero Hedge suggesting that, there was a shelf life to this intervention and we would soon get the bazooka here. We'll get to that segment next. Sure. But let's play this clip here from Donald Trump. Listen to his words here and kind of glean to what he's getting at here.
We're sitting on trillions and trillions of dollars under our feet. And let's use that to make America rich again. Is that okay? We'll pay off the debt. We'll reduce your taxes. It'll be a beautiful thing. You'll never have it. It'll be a renaissance. It'll be a golden period. It'll be a beautiful period. Finally, to exploit these.
So golden renaissance. We're going to pay your debts. It sounds a lot like he's talking more about gold here than oil.
Yeah, he does. And if you realize that it's held in the gold revaluation account, that's the name of it. How hard would it be for them to do that? The number is about $135,000. You put gold at $135,000 an ounce, and Trump says for the next 90 days, the U.S. government will pay $135,000 an ounce, or for the foreseeable future, for anyone who wants to sell their gold to the Treasury, any entity, any government that wants to do that. And like that, your balance sheet went from putrid to pristine, from upside down to positive. And could it happen? So many people who are into cryptocurrencies envision a world with $1 million Bitcoin, and that's totally cool. And there's no pushback against that. $100,000 Bitcoin, $150,000. Well, that's easy, right?
Right.
Why can't gold be there? And like I've been saying, silver's $4 an ounce, or has been between $3 and $4 an ounce higher in China for months. That is the price. Well, what if it was $30 or $40 or $50 higher? That is the price. Yeah. Gold revaluation is not something new. And as we've talked about, whether it be Senator Loomis or the head of the Dutch National Bank or Roosevelt over my shoulder, who has done this before, and the fact that it's held in the gold revaluation account is crazy. Now, now we could talk with our friend Bix Weir about this. You know, Bix will tell you there's a lot of gold under our feet that really hasn't been talked about. Maybe Bix is right. You know how much I love Bix, and I know how much you love Bix, and he's one of the smartest guys I know. The only one who talks about that. Maybe he's right. What if Trump came out and said, all of this gold that we have now, we're going to bring it to market, we're going to revalue it, and all of a sudden, bang, we're the richest nation on earth again with a surplus rather than a deficit and a massive overhanging debt. Could it happen? Why the hell not? And it would really be an amazing thing if so, but I guess only time will tell, right?
Yeah, and like you were saying at the beginning of the show, you're making that car analogy. Something's not right in the background, and you and I are feeling it. We can't necessarily put all our fingers. We can kind of point to it for the garage guy, but there's something wrong in the market. Guys, if you're interested and you don't know what we're talking about here, Bix Weir, he can be found at roadtoruta.com. He's talking about this latest pop in silver.
Well, and don't switch off of there. I want to. Yeah. So I've known Bix for over 15 years, and it was about 15 years ago when he came out with that second one there, the hidden meeting. And look at the left side. So what he talked about in that hidden meeting, I remember it. I remember doing a presentation with him in San Francisco around this time. And he said, the left side is the old system. The right side is the new system. You have a pen and an ink well, whatever that's called. And then everything on the right side is gold, including the watermark and the number and the ink and the feather pen and the ink jar. Everything on the left side is the old side. And he talks about this way back when, 15 years ago, he was talking about this, saying this is the reason they're doing it. They are going to transition to a gold-backed system. Well, I mean, you know, maybe he's right. It's kind of interesting when you see old side, new side, and maybe he's right. And I remember talking about this 15 years ago, thinking, geez. And if you think about it, what is the only way after pissing in the punch bowl for so long, you'll get people to have a drink out of that punch bowl ever again? And it's to go from the old left side that's filled with piss to the new right side that's gold. And that's the point. And I think that's what Bix is. I haven't watched this video, but I remember when he came out with it 15 years ago or whatever. And I think it's worth watching. Because if indeed there is a plan to do that, then this bill has never been more relevant, or listening to what Bix says about it.
Right. Go check it out, guys. roadtoruta.com for his website. That brings us into some of the countermeasures. We didn't talk about this before the show, but I wanted to bring this up. Let me see if we can bring it up. This is from the Israel Post just a couple of days ago. Israel to consider limiting ownership of precious metals. Okay, so we're not talking about confiscation, but we are, to some extent here, either trying to dissuade people from owning precious metals or looking outside of the system as the system is crumbling, or is this a trial balloon to eventually get to the confiscation? Andy, what do you make of this thing here?
Well, I think that I hope that it's only a proposal and they don't actually do something that foolish. But it would do the same thing with Bitcoin. That would be the next to follow in cryptocurrencies. If you do something like this, you're trying to trap everyone within the monetary system. I think it's a very foolish decision. It would only create more of a black market. But nonetheless, the article talks about, you know, we need to be able to tax everyone fairly and equally, and portray these people as people who are tax cheats. It's something that I hope anyway is just a stupid proposition. It's no more different than, I hope, than when in 2009 they came out and said that, you know, we should take everyone's IRAs. There was a bill that floated all the way down to the House floor and put that money into an annuity of sort backed by treasuries to stabilize the treasury market should we see another great financial crisis. That was voted down, but it made it out. It actually came out of the genie bottle. Same thing here. Let's just hope that it's nothing more than a proposal or a talking point and not real. I don't think they would do it here in the United States. I've always said I think that's why they have GLD and SLV. Yeah, that's SLV, the largest stockpile of silver in the world, held by the biggest cartel crooked bank on the planet, JP Morgan, and of course, BlackRock. They're the custodians. JP Morgan, who paid a $920 million fine for manipulating the metals market, is still allowed to be the custodian of the largest silver trust in the world and partial custodian of GLD, which is the fourth or fifth largest stockpile of gold in the world. Now, they come in on a Friday night and take those two accounts and say, well, we didn't do anything wrong. You can still own physical gold and silver. Let's hope that doesn't happen. It was a disappointing story to even see, but desperate governments do desperate things, I guess, is the name of the game. But you can't let that deter you. You have to prepare the best you can and hope for the best. And that's really, to my honest feelings, all you can do, and hope that we don't cross that line. Because if we do, it's game over. It really is. At that point, we have bigger problems.
So you're saying you don't think that is coming to the States? And I would tend to agree right now. And maybe you can update the audience on the number of states who have either proposed or who have passed legislation to make gold and silver legal tender, and also about removing the capital gains tax here on precious metals. So update the audience on that.
Yeah, 11 have passed it. Upwards ends of 22 or 23 have it in front of their legislature. There's a bill by Representative Mooney to do just that, to strip the capital gains tax. Many of the states have already gotten rid of taxation on gold, but that's just on the state level, not on the federal level. But the point of it is, it's a growing trend. And we're seeing states that are getting rid of the taxation, states that never would have done that, New Jersey and Wisconsin. These are states that are finally, realizing that gold and silver are money. That's not all of the states, but many of them. So you're talking about pretty darn close to half of the states in the country have either passed it or have legislation in process, and they're debating it. So I don't think it'll happen. And if it happens here, you can bet your ass it'll happen in Canada as well. So it's let's just hope it doesn't, and that cooler heads prevail.
Well, here in Canada, too, we're seeing more provinces break rank with the federal government. In Alberta, just recently, too, the new premier there is trying to pass a bill to make it unconstitutional to force vaccination upon its citizens. So they're completely, saying, no, we're not doing what the feds are doing. They're also not doing the gun grab thing. So presumably, when it comes to this financial crisis, these provinces would say, yeah, we're going to do our own thing here, and we're going to legalize gold and silver, and, we'll be on our own. So it's interesting to see that we're seeing that walk away from that central power into that more state, in your case, or province authority here in Canada. Last week, Andy, we talked about silver and the increase in demand in India, and how you and I believed that this demand for solar was really just a cover story for the reality of this being a strategic metal, and they're using this as an excuse to not let everybody in on the fact that they're buying silver like crazy. Just now, also on Reuters, silver hits this 12-year high here, chasing gold's record-breaking rally. So we're sitting right now at 32.23 USD here on APMEX for silver. What else is happening behind the scenes since we last talked? Are you seeing more and more drainage on COBEX, LBMA? And are you hearing more about more people jumping into the bandwagon, also trying to get silver maybe in doré format here, circumventing completely the LBMA and COMEX exchanges? Andy?
Yeah, well, 100%. I mean, we've talked about how China's flying around the world and buying up silver doré in mass without... it's falling off of the radar, so to speak. It's not purchased by off of an exchange. And there's been a lot of talk also lately of the PLA, not the PBOC, the People's Liberation Army, doing the same thing, buying tremendous amounts of gold and silver all around the world, because they don't report it to the IMF unless it comes off the PBOC, the People's Bank of China. And of course, India's numbers are up 7-fold from last year. Last year, the first 6 months of the year, and by the way, India had a record year in importation last year. Last year, they imported 560 tons of silver in the first 6 months. That's a lot. It's up 7 times the first 6 months of this year to 4,554 tons of silver. That's what they report. I mean, it's off the charts. At the same time, China's flying all around buying up the concentrate and the doré. What's even more impressive is China is the #2 producer in the world. This shows what they are doing, and I think it betrays the price. Well, That's why you're seeing the price starting to edge up, and we're right at that number. You cross and close above 32.50, and there ain't a damn thing in front of it between here and 50. I remember in 2011,
we're just on that precipice now. Yeah.
Yes, we're right there.
Yeah.
And in 2011, it shot up from 35 to 50 in a matter of just, I don't know, a couple of days. It seemed like it was bang. So yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. And if I were a commercial bank with a tremendous naked position, I'd be shaking in my boots, because the demand from these countries who realize how to beat us now, it's off the charts. It truly is off the charts.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Like you said, there's not very much overhead resistance here at the price we're at now compared to this all-time high. And after that, there's no resistance. It's completely new territory. Speak about that after the $50 mark here, or the all-time high. Where does it go? And
who knows? I mean, look at gold. It continues to go higher and higher and higher. These are assets where price discovery has been muted by suppression. There are 8 commercial banks that have the largest concentrated short position in the history of any commodity ever traded on the COMEX market right now. The history of the COMEX market. And thank you very much, S.N. Milton. In the history of the COMEX market, the largest concentrated short position. I don't know. Did I ever show you that graph, JC, of the eight banks? Did I ever show you that?
I think so.
Yeah. So
you can bring it up if you want. If you have it.
Let me see if I can. How do I do this here? Let me see if I can. First of all, let me find it just for the people to understand. I've done this a lot on a bunch of shows, but for the people who haven't seen it, it's worth doing. Let me just show you this.
Yeah, and we have more and more new viewers every day.
So
interested in the older stuff and getting back on track with some of the older data. Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so here, this is the presentation that I made in Florida recently. This is, if you Google this number right here, S2768, and I owe this research, a lot of it, to John Little of the Pickaxe. He's a smart dude, but it really is illuminating. I talk about all the time how there's 500 ounces of silver in a Tomahawk cruise missile. So we go back here, S2768, October 14th, 1942. According to the War Production Board, it's only a matter of months before war demands will increase sufficiently to require at least 200 million ounces a year. Right now, here in 42, they're using 100 million ounces, but they're going up to 200 million ounces. This was in 42. I have a client who works for the Department of Defense who told me my numbers are correct on the Patriot missile and the Tomahawk missile. Well, here is the supply-demand numbers that come out of the Silver Institute. Where do we see military? Nowhere. We have a four year in a row structural deficit between supply and demand of about 265 million ounces. Industrial, electrical, electronics, photovoltaics is what Bix talks about all the time. That's solar panels, brazing alloy and solders, other industrial, photography, jewelry, silverware. Where the hell is military? And this is the chart. This is why. So the red line are the big 4 commercial banks. The green line are the big 8. There's 8 of them, which includes the red line. This is the largest concentrated short position in any commodity ever traded in the history of the COMEX market in silver. Look at oil way down here. And then look at silver. Why are 8 banks shorting the shit out of the price of silver to the degree that no one has ever seen before? And this is what the rest of the world is doing with it. This is the London Metal Exchange vault, the lowest amount of silver they've had since they started keeping records. There's only 800 million ounces in there, of which over half of it, roughly 500 million, belong to the ETFs. They have 300 million ounces there, yet they're trading 3 billion ounces per day. 290 million they admit to. They say those numbers are 10 times understated. So the rest of the world says, you want to short the hell out of the price of silver, where 8 of you stupid Western banks want to call this the largest short position in the history of the COMEX market. You're a bunch of idiots. So here's what we're going to do. Because you want to create weapons for the military-industrial complex, because remember back here, we needed 200 million ounces and the world was nowhere near as technologically advanced as it is now. You need silver. So let's pull it out of the supply-demand numbers. Let's suppress the shit out of it. And guess what? We're going to beat you at your own game. And we're going to drain the exchanges, because that is the ability that was never really used or utilized, the ability to stand for delivery. This is what is going on with silver. And bang, you're going to wake up one day and they're not going to be able to hold it down anymore. And that's when you could see a bank like Bank of America get sacrificed at the altar. Maybe this is why Buffett's selling all of his stocks, because according to Ted Butler, God rest his soul, they've had a 1 billion ounce short position, billion ounces short in silver. Why? Because the military industrial complex is a whole hell of a lot more powerful than President Biden is. And they're the ones calling the shots, and they need the silver to make high-tech weaponry, so they want to keep it suppressed. The rest of the world is on to our, they're on to our game, and they're using it against us. JC, I think there has never been an asset class that has the potential that silver does. And honest to God, I mean that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Guys, if you're interested in getting more of that beautiful presentation Angie just shared with you guys, he is, of course, confirmed as one of our keynote speakers for the Beyond Mystic Conference here, the Woo Beginning in March of 2025. The survey form is now closed for you guys, and we are going live with the ticket sale later this afternoon. Currently, right now, the Insider Access Pass members are having first dibs at securing their spots here. This, of course, is a big thank you to them supporting our show. They always get first dibs on everything we put out. And yeah, so just refresh the Beyond Mystic page here later this afternoon to get the links for that. Very excited. Of course, I'm going to be excited to have Andy on stage with you guys, and also ready for some breakout sessions and perhaps a booth also where he can talk to you guys directly about your self-directed IRAs and how to maximize your pension here moving into.
It'll be amazing to see everybody and do this in person. I'm looking very, very forward to it.
It's going to be fun. So guys, check out beyondmystic.net at 4:00 today. Just refresh the page there and you'll get the links to the tickets. Andy, let's talk about gold. We just finished silver here. Last time you were here, we talked about the fact that these guys were buying gold surreptitiously here underneath the market. We're looking at hedge fund manager John Paulson also saying that he's going to exit the market here if Kamala becomes president. And we're getting Goldman commodity traders saying that gold buying on their desk has been relentless here and that silver is starting to move too. So something's happening in the background. It's not just the election front. Could be all this war rhetoric here. We're on the verge of this apparently nuclear exchange here, as per Putin's comment yesterday. There seems to be war rattling there too. What do you make of the gold right now? We're sitting at all-time high, of course, in the last couple of days. More pressure behind this in a time where there's supposed to be, it appears, per past experience, bringing it down to show everybody that everything's okay and the economy is okay. But right now they're not doing that, and gold is an outlier saying no, there's something else happening in the background. Things are not okay.
It's kind of like that rattle on the left side of the car. Don't know what the hell it is, but something's not okay. You're right. And this is a big one here, the commodity traders, because in 2022 we noticed a divergence for the first time, just like that, where the price was going up, but the participation from the West was going down, coupled with positive real yield, a 5% plus yield on a 6-month treasury with 3%-ish inflation, if you believe that nonsense. But okay, let's believe it. Along with a strong dollar, that should be the death knell for gold, but yet it kept marching higher. And we've seen a negative outflow, like a 45-degree angle, like you're skiing down the Swiss Alps on gold, for over 2 years until now. Now it's starting to go back up, which is really interesting at the exact same time that Powell is pivoting and lowering rates, which should be rocket fuel for the price of gold. It really should be, because this whole rally has been void of American participation on many levels. It's been driven by the central banks and by Asian demand. And now all of a sudden you have an awakening of sorts by the mainstream here in the United States, and they're beginning to jump back into the ETFs and much larger purchases in the physical realm as rates are going down. And it's funny, he lowered rates, and that very day the bond market sold off. The back end of it, the 10 and the 30 were being sold, and rates were going higher. So in other words, the world's saying, no. Well, you're going to lower rates? No. We're not going to take your 10 or your 30-year treasury unless you jack rates way up. It's not worth it to us. There's too much inflation baked into the cake. You're succumbing to inflation and saying it's a victory when you're 3.5%. If you believe the nonsense coming out of the BLS, let's just take the L out of it and call it the bullshit, because that's what it is. And the CP lie. John Williams of Shadow Stat says add an 8 to it, you get 11%. But even if we believe it, there's just no way that anyone's going to continue to buy our treasury debt of any duration as we continue to lower rates, wave a flag of victory, and we're 65% away from our target of 2%. And that's a victory. And now we're doing it because we say unemployment isn't good. But yet I thought we said employment was so great for the last year. Oh, that's right. We revised 1 million jobs. We got rid of 1.3 million full-time jobs, replaced them with 665,000 part-time jobs, mostly by illegal immigrants. So the numbers that he keeps talking about are a bunch of crap, and they're going to revise down the GDP tomorrow too. And they keep revising it after the fact, saying that it's such a great environment, but he's lowering it by 50 basis points because he knows it's not such a great environment. And now you got the Fed governor of Chicago saying we need roughly to get down to 3%. That's our neutral number. That would be 3 or 4 more drops of 50 basis points, which will just eviscerate the credibility of the Fed and ought to be a rocket fuel booster for gold. But I've told this recently a couple times in my last 2 days, because I did an interview yesterday or the day before with a guy from the UK. And he said, Andy, inflation or money creation in the United States has run at 7% now for the last decade. And I did some math in my head. I'm like, that's it. I mean, this is the best way to explain it. And like I said in my live stream last night with Dunnigan, I said, look, I could show you 10 examples going all the way back 100 plus years, or even all the way to the Roman times, how what I'm about to tell you is the same all the way through. It's the same. And it is that gold doesn't get you wealthy. It is wealth, and it retains its purchasing power. Here's an example. If you realize there's something called the law of 70 seconds, and everyone should know the law of 70 seconds. And it's funny, they teach us such bullshit in school, but the law of 70 seconds ought to be something we learn in elementary school. It's the law of compounding. And it says you take the interest rate that you are being charged or are charging and divide it into 72, and it tells you how long before the principal doubles. So this is why they have credit cards at 18%. 18 times 4 is 72. And if you only paid the minimum and didn't draw down on your balance at the end of 4 years, your principal would double at 18% interest rate. It's if you were paying or receiving a 7% return on a bond for 10 years, at the end of 10.2 years, because 7 into 72 is 10.2, your principal doubles. Well, if money creation, which is the definition of inflation, forget the nonsense, it's not price anything. The CPI, the prices are not inflation. They are the byproduct of inflation, rising prices. Inflation is a monetary event. It is an increase in the money supply, period. The Cantillon effect means it takes a little bit of time for the money to work its way down to those rising consumer good prices, but an increase in the money supply is inflating the money supply. It's inflation. So at 7% money creation for the last 10 years, that means in 10 years, our currency has lost half of its value from 10 years ago. Okay, if that's true, what was gold 10 years ago? It was $1,200. What's it today? 2,600 and change. It's just over a double. So it's not that gold has made you wealthy. It means that gold is allowing you to purchase the same amount of goods and services today
in your value
that you could 10 years ago. And that is the key to understanding gold. You could say the exact same thing here in 1930. This $20 gold coin or this $20 gold certificate, if grandpa left you a box of 500 of each, 10,000, 2 cigar boxes, you open it up, these are gold certificates. They're worth more. But let's just pretend it's not. It's a $20 bill. That's $10,000. Nice gift, but it ain't worth shit compared to the million plus right here. And they were the exact same thing. So the currency, when you pull the metal out of it, is just paper. But this, for 100 years, has retained its purchasing power. And it's the exact same thing, because this $20 gold coin would have bought you a suit and tie and an overcoat. Same with the $20 gold certificate. But what does that $20 bill buy you today? Not even a tie. But that ounce
not even the shoelaces on your shoes.
Right. And that ounce of gold for $2,700 buys you everything it did 100 years ago. That's the concept of owning gold. It is not to become wealthy. It is wealth. And that's what I want people to understand. But yeah, gold is something's different about it. And it's going to keep on rolling. And you can see this by the fact that it's exhibited tremendous strength without U.S. participation, specifically by the funds looking at positive real yield, strong dollar, and you know, the lack of participation by the mainstream. You turn that around, it's rocket fuel. It truly is.
Right. Wow, exciting. I love that analogy there, Andy. I think you and I have talked about that maybe 4 years ago, but it's good to bring it back and remind ourselves what this is really all about. I really appreciate that, Andy.
Look at that, $22.95, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That really is. That's crazy. And you know what's even more crazy? Is that if you would have asked me at any point in my career, the gold's almost $2,700 an ounce, and there's zero attention in the mainstream about it, like zero, I would have said you're out of your mind, not a chance in hell. Yeah. That's another contrarian indicator. It's completely ignored. Completely. Yeah. In fact, you get the financial advisors. I get calls from elderly folks all the time. My advisor says I need to sell this stuff. What do you think? And I will just simply say that something's different this time. That's all I can tell you. There's something rattling on the left side. Don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, we're getting some, like you say, we're getting some indication from the trading desks, but they're being very modest about their expectations. But you're right, for the most part on the mainstream news, other than maybe at the bottom of the ticker tape, they're really not talking about gold and silver. They're not, getting into it in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, if you go and even go like to any mainstream financial publication, they'll have one article about it, but it's not certainly leading the news. Because it's the antithesis of the dollar. It speaks to the demise of the dollar ultimately. And that article right there is going to say that gold got above $2,700 in the futures today. First time ever. Every single day we keep making new highs. And I think last week I talked with you about this. It's interesting because last week I talked with you about how the price of oil, one ounce of gold was worth, how many barrels of oil was it last week? 1 ounce of gold last week was worth, this is actually pretty interesting. So let me pull this up again because we talked about this and it's really interesting to see the difference in 1 week. So 1 ounce of gold last week with gold at $25.90 and oil at $70 a barrel was worth 37 barrels of oil. Now, if you're the Saudis and you're thinking, well, shit, should I take dollars or should I take gold? Well, as far as the dollar is concerned, again, we're pivoting, we're lowering rates. Inflation is accelerating, 100,000 in debt per second, every second, $1 trillion every 90 days, trillion seconds ago, 31,688 years ago, all of that stuff I keep saying. Well, if you're the Saudis, you're thinking, part of the petro deal after we take the depreciating dollar for our oil is to recycle the excess reserves into treasuries, which can be taken from us if you're the Saudis, if we don't align ideologically. We've proven that. And the yield went up 500 basis points, eviscerating those that we already had. Or we could take gold. So in 1 week, right? In 1 week, from $25.90 buying at $70 a barrel, which it still is basically, bought you 37 barrels. Today, with it at $26.70, it's going to be a whole nother barrel. 2670 divided by 70 is 38.14. So now in 1 week, it buys you one more barrel, that ounce of gold, instead of and looking at it the other way, if you are the Saudis, well, that dollar just appreciated against the price of gold. Gold's gone up. You're retaining your purchasing power. And I talked about how a woman's purse that would hold 20 pounds, again, John Little of Pickaxe, some great information here. And that's 290 ounces of gold, 20 pounds. That bought 10,730 barrels of oil last week. Well, today, what does it buy you? 2670 times 2670 times, what are we saying? Times 290. And that would get by you 2690. What are we at? 2670. 290 divided by 70. That buys you 11,061 barrels instead of 10,730 in 1 week. This goes to show you that if you're the Saudis, you're thinking, what the hell do I want dollars for? I can buy gold, which is outperforming it, which isn't being debased and can't be taken from me with the counterparty risk. I'm out. And that's what you're seeing happen around the globe right now. And dollars are slowly being de-dollarized in favor of commodities like gold and oil, which are worth more than the dollars that are used to purchase them.
Yeah. It's exciting because it feels very much like we're in the time of those Webbot predictions where we were having dollar day moves in silver, and same thing in gold. It appears we've already started on that track.
We're there. We're
If that's
there.
the case, it's going to be a very nice Christmas, and that's also another temporal marker that people are looking for. Andy, before we finish the show, let's get into this here too. This was interesting to me. Of course, you and I talk about getting prepped. You and I have shows with Bill Holter, who talks about getting prepped, and not just for the collapse of the government, but just for natural disasters and all that. Like, it's always good to be prepared. But here we're getting some government officials telling me the same thing here, kind of out of tune with the government. So you kind of have to pay attention. Why was this article interesting to you, Andy?
No, it's very interesting because here you have someone that was part of the system that was eaten by the system. Mm-hmm. And they he asked a question, why are there so many FBI informants in the audience on Jan 6th? And they basically blacklisted him. Yeah. He's now testifying in front of lawmakers saying this is what happened. And to hear a guy who knows the playbook from the inside, who played, who was actually had integrity and asked the right question and then got, blacklisted. And maybe that's why all these things happen, where, where are the people that are the whistleblowers? Where are they all? Well, this is why there are fewer and fewer of them, because of he talks about how hard it's been on his family, the waiting for the door to be kicked in and dad to be taken away and never coming back. Well, right. When you hear him say, get a gun, learn to protect yourself, and stock up on supplies, it's almost as if they're telling you something is coming. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't know how much people need to hear this kind of stuff before they finally realize it. And the difference between someone like Bill Holter and most people is that it is, taking the time to prepare proactively. There is no time to prepare reactively. I learned that living down here in Florida. I spent 50 years in Minnesota. You don't get hurricanes in Minnesota, nothing even close to it. Even if there's a blizzard coming, people go to the grocery store and that's it. You come down here during a hurricane, within 3 days, everything is gone. I mean, you try and go buy plywood at Home Depot, good luck. You try and go buy bottled water, good luck. I mean, it's crazy. And it's a just-in-time world we live in. Listen to what this guy is saying. And preparation, to me, if we see things like that again, it goes far beyond just gold and silver. And I think you should listen to what he's saying, because JC, I've talked at length about what bothers me more than any of the ills that we have economically, monetarily, fiscally, is what's happened to the country. And Gerald Celente says it best: when people lose everything, they lose it. Mm-hmm. And, how far away are we from that type of a situation? God forbid. But with this election, I mean, look, we got 3.5 weeks to the BRICS meeting and 5 weeks to the election. If anyone thinks that this is going to be smooth, I think you're making a mistake. And if you're waiting for something to happen before you act, you're really making a big mistake, not just in buying metals. Just go prepare. Go buy some food and some water and supplies. And if you have to donate it to a food shelf or use it yourself, who cares? And for those of you in the United States, I know it's not as easy in Canada. Buy a damn gun and some bullets and go target shooting and learn how to use it. God forbid you need to use it. Mm-hmm. These are things that everyone should have. And you never hope to use it. But look at the Titanic. It was a boat that couldn't sink, so they didn't have life rafts, either enough of them or easily accessible, and people died. And you never know. I mean, if anything we should have learned over the last several years, it is that anything can happen. Shit that we have no idea could even possibly happen happens. I think that's the wise move.
Absolutely. Andy, before we go, you sent me some cool new specials. Let me bring that up on the screen for the audience here. We have the 1 ounce gold Argor. How do you call these?
Argor Herreris. It's a Swiss refiner. And
Really
that is the Dragon bar.
Wow. Really cool.
Yeah, those are really neat bars.
All right, beautiful. And these ones also new for this week, the Silver American Eagles.
Yep.
At 525 over spot. Hey, that's great. Still.
Yeah, and on really large orders, we'll even do better than that. And then, of course, the $50, which I love. Those $50 were as high as anything I've ever sold, with the exception of Silver Eagles, for 3.5 years. Premiums on those, I was paying people $11-12 over spot to buy those back.
I remember
14 or more to buy back Silver Eagles, all through 2021 through 2023. So I think those are all great choices. I really love the two silver choices quite a bit. But if you're looking to buy a 1 ounce gold bar, the design on these are amazing.
Yeah, really cool. Guys, check it out at beyondmystic.net/silver. There's the contact form there if you want to fill that out. Let Andy know what you're looking for, and he'll get his team on that for you ASAP. If you're on the Canadian side of the equation, also check out mfbullion.ca. There's the 10 ounce bars there at $2.49 over spot for the Canadian audience. Sorry, Andy, you were speaking.
I was just looking at someone who said food for your pets. Can't forget food for your pets. But look at that, man. 3,600 Canadian. That's just crazy. I remember not too many years ago being in Canada where it was a 1-to-1 Canadian dollar relationship. I don't remember how many years ago that was, but I remember it was 1-to-1.
2009-ish. We came close around 2008, 2009. Yeah.
Wow. And now you got gold at $3,600 there. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
It is. I mean,
crazy.
Things are crazy, JC, but God bless you for doing what you do and letting me be a small part of it. It means so much to me. I truly love it. And
always love having you on. One last question before you go. We're a couple of weeks away from this next BRICS meeting. What do you think the outcome is? Are we going to have an incremental change, a big bazooka change? What do you think?
I don't know. And I'm reluctant to make after what happened last year where a lot of people expected them to issue a common settlement currency and expected the Eurasian Economic Union and the Shanghai Cooperation Shanghai Cooperation Organization to be melded into the BRICS. Didn't happen. I would simply say that no matter what happens, all of these changes are progressing and accelerating. And I mean, it would be crazy if they come out and say we have agreed to the unit in principle, and now it's been ratified. Here are the 59 countries that have formally applied and those that we are accepting. I don't know. I would just simply say that it's getting serious and expect something to further legitimize the BRICS. The one thing that they do that I find is admirable, and it's difficult for us in the West where instant gratification isn't fast enough. They do things the right way. They backfill. They do it methodically. They take care of issue by issue by issue, make it solid, ratify it, and then move forward. So I'm not confident that they're going to shatter the earth with whatever comes out, but it'll be enough to where the changes that are in motion are becoming more and more evident and obvious and accelerating the trend that is already in motion.
I think that's the point, though. We're going to see a continuation of that trend. We know where this is going, so it gives you the indication as to where and how to prepare. Either way, whether they come up with the big news this month or next month or in 2 months from now, we know where this is going. And the people watching this show, thanks to you and a lot of the research that you do, like they have a little bit of a heads up on all of this. Because
that's all I hope for, man. We all got to meet our maker someday, and I try my best. I truly do. I swear to God, I try my hardest to do right by everyone, and that's all you can do, right? In the end,
Tuscan Don says, "I love these silver fireside chats." Well, if you love those, please come and join us in Ottawa for the conference in March of 2025.
Is that Sarah Westall right there, second from the left?
No, that's Aline. She gives a polyvagal course on the Academy.
Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. I look like Sarah. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting all these people and not only speaking, but listening to all the guest speakers that you have. And I think that'll be fantastic.
Wait till you find out who the other keynotes are. It's going to be one hell of a party, Andy. You're going to have
I can't wait. I'm good at partying, so that'll be fun.
Very good. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Please check out the Beyond Mystic page at 4:00 today and refresh to see the tickets go online. And in the meantime, of course, please join us at 4 p.m. Eastern today. I'm doing the breaking woos with Meg today. Janine has gone to the vet with her cat this afternoon. So we had a bit of a switch over there for the 4 p.m. show. But Janine and I will be back tonight with Penny Kelly for the Continuity of Government, a special edition here on the contention with space aliens. That's going to be at 8 o'clock here on
check that one out.
Don't want to miss that. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. In the meantime, of course, you can can find Andy at miles@franklin.com. Love you guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.